Good morning. It's my drive into work. Thought I'd jump on a quick moment. Just had a scary moment. The the rain suddenly changed to snow and sleet, and I'm watching people fishtail. Somebody just went off over there. So it's a party. Welcome to Utah in February. You never know what you're going to get. But we're very grateful for the moisture. Always grateful for the moisture. Which actually was what was on my mind while it was raining. I was like, oh man, it's rain. We need rain. So I love snowboarding. I love wakeboarding. I love boating. I love those sports. And you're very weather dependent on whether those are going to be good. And so the more snow you have, the better your winter season is. And the more snow you have, the better your summer season is. And I noticed a bunch of trends. I used to split a boat with a friend, and then I had kids, and I had to get out of that partnership, which is super sad. Breaks my heart. Man, I miss boating. So one day, fingers crossed that one day I get a boat again. But while this water is coming down, I wanted to just kind of go through a trend I noticed, and I actually kind of did some actual research into this. So when I first moved to Utah for college, we had actually some really good winters. Um, and what started happening over the next, let's not talk how many years it was, the next couple decades. I guess I'm earning like salt and pepper. Um, the weather was shifting, right? I think global warming is a poor. I'll try stop trying to and ah. Global warming is a poor set of terms to describe what's happening in different areas. So lots of people then argue, oh well, but it's colder here and it's warmer there, and like, yeah. So I think global climate change would have been a much better. Like the climate across the globe is changing. Some places might get a little colder, some places might get a little warmer. Rainfall, snowfall patterns change dramatically, which matters a lot. So I would hear these stories from like the 80s about Lake Powell being full. Like there's stories and pictures of like plywood sheets stacked up at the top of the dam holding back additional water. Like wild stuff to think about. And I've been to Lake Powell. I love Lake Powell. But I've always seen it, and you can always see the white line where the water was. Looks like somebody went off the road. Hopefully people slow down. This is gonna be a party. So, I mean, maybe I'll flip my camera around so you're not seeing my face, and you can ride along with me as see if we can get a little bit of focus going on here. Oh, buddy, this could be. Well, yeah, that's not. That's not gonna work. Sorry. What have you? All right. Ooh, this is slick. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, changing weather. Um. So yeah, so I've noticed like our snowfall has started to shift back. So if we tend to get water a little earlier, like snow in like November, like early November, if the ski resorts can open by like Thanksgiving, we usually have like a pretty good water year. And like we'll get like really good snowpack. But it seems like we get a jump in like November. It kind of lightens off in December. Maybe you get a little bit of snowfall through December. And then more and more, instead of snow in January, as we've been getting into the over the last 10, 15 years, the later into uh, February we get, and in March, all of a sudden we just getting nuked with snow. So like it seems like the ski industry and everybody should be talking about this, like encouraging people to come, be like, hey, like we're getting snow late, so like let's do late, packages. Let's say bring people in, and like I think there really should be an effort to refill Lake Powell. I know that's controversial to some people, and they're like, oh, well, we need this back, and we need this, that, and the other. And I'm like, listen, we already filled the lake. It already happened. Like, a bunch of that ecological damage was already done, and a lot of people moved out to the west. Uh, and so I think it's really important that the Great Salt Lake, Lake Powell, Lake Mead get filled. Like, and I think they should. We've got to renegotiate the water rights on, especially on Lake Powell, Lake Mead. And this whole thing about like, oh well, California's going to get theirs no matter what, and then it depends on everybody else to figure it out from upstream. No, like everybody's got to take a haircut on how much water comes in every year. That's what you get to split. And like this whole controversial, like you can get into the weeds on this whole water rights thing, and people have all sorts of thoughts and opinions. And like I understand that LA and California need water, and they have agriculture, but listen, like you're closer to the ocean. There's lots of options for other water sources. I understand desalinization isn't popular, but there are options that direction. Like there are lots of ways to help offset how much they're pulling off the Colorado River. And this whole like, well, we're just going to take and take and take and like screw everybody upstream. Like this is a position where if everybody takes their quote unquote share, nobody gets anything eventually, and that's going to cause a, a disaster within cities that I don't think people are fully grasping what it's going to look like. Like imagine modern cities where you can't turn on the tap. And I know that seems extreme, but like there are places like far enough down, and California just wants to take theirs. And I'm not saying Utah and Colorado and Arizona are right for what they're doing. I think St. George is a whole problem in and of itself. I apologize for any random curse words. This is sketchy driving. This is slush and snow. Woo! All right. Well, so if you start seeing the road passing the wrong way out the rear window, you'll know what's going on. I'm fishtailing up the canyon. Anyway, so like everybody's got to cut back, and I think like if we want to be able to have the water resource, we need to make sure we refill the lakes. Right? Let's get the lakes full to the tippy top, and now let's say we can't go below 80% because they're having more water in the area will cause more water to come to the area. Like there's a whole thing about like rain clouds and water and the cooling and a whole bunch of things and like forcing it to rain. Anyway, call me crazy, but I think that's why the Great Salt Lake and the Lake Powell, Lake Mead need to be filled. Like we're looking at like massive disaster either way, but now we're in a spot where like we already had the lakes; they've fulfilled a purpose for a very long time. Like letting those lakes dry out is going to reduce the carrying capacity dramatically, and lifestyles in some of these states. And we can look at lots of water intensive crops and their issues, right? And everybody points at one or other, and then we get in this myopic argument. As like, listen, maybe California doesn't need to produce quite as many almonds as they do, and maybe we need to stop growing so much alfalfa in Arizona and Utah, um, and maybe we need to like put a pin in having certain data centers pop up. Maybe we just need to hang on for just a minute on a bunch of these things. Um, I had a professor I really like. He's still around at Utah State, but he did his uh, PhD thesis, yes, on water rights of the LA Basin, and so I am probably far more knowledgeable on LA water basin rights and things. Not as much as him, but more than your average person, and more than I probably ever should be. So it's a thing. All right, let's follow this truck and see how this goes. I ain't afraid. I'm gonna pass a Bronco, an Kia, and a Honda Telluride because the Rav Quattro is. I guess I should put myself in snow mode. Yeah. Anyway, so I think like we took the effort to like, and like everybody like keeps arguing for like an end all be all solution. Like this is going to be the solution, and it's like the answer is it's going to be like 6 or 7 things that we're going to have to do, like reduction in consumption, incentives for adding water in. There's going to be a whole bunch of those, uh, all this water being pulled out. I mean, it's not just a Utah, Colorado problem. The lakes are pulled down so far that I mean, you're going to get to a point where like LA's only going to get the water that flows out of the river, and there's no additional holding capacity for the dams, which is way less water. And I think that's what's not understood. Is like there's a constant flow rate that comes down, right? That's all the water there is. Now we use that water to fill these reservoirs, which was impressive. But now you're going to put yourself in a position where there's just this is the straw you get to drink out of, and there is no more. There's no more. There's not power coming off this. There's no more water. So here's what you have, and now you're going to try to split that between all these different states, and it's going to get real ugly really fast. Go you want a wild ride, go look at water rights and like violence in the 1800s in the Intermountain West. Like water rights is one of the things that get you shot instantaneously. Don't mess with somebody's water. Don't steal their water. Like that's a gunfight waiting to happen. Like and thirsty people are people. I, the Lake Ball and the Great Salt Lake to be filled their tippy tops. I do think, and I've been advocating for this for a while, and I've, I have actually tried to do some pretty decent homework on this. Clearly, I'm not a hydrologist or an engineer, but uh, I'm pretty good at public policy, and I think we should build basically a pump station, like a pump line, to the top of the Sierra Nevadas. So you could go from like San Francisco Bay and go up to the top of the Sierra Nevadas, and then basically do a canal system down. I might have to go a little bit further over, but and then canal system down. And there might even be something like towards Idaho, but then basically just build a canal and let the water just run, like salt water out of the ocean straight into the Great Salt Lake. Yes, you will damage some of the ground over which that salt water runs. Um, we've got lots of canals and we've done lots of other terrible things over time, but we don't care about the evaporation because that's part of the point. Having the water in the Great Salt Lake allows it to evaporate, which cleans the water and then gives us like really cool ecology and in the state of Utah. So for the maintenance of Utah, I think yes, other things need to be maintained. We need to reduce let's not grow corn and alfalfa in Utah. Let's do like a 10-year hiatus or 5-year, or like let's say it's going to be 10 years. And we're going to reevaluate every 2 to 3 years, and let's try to put as much water back into the Great Salt Lake as we possibly can. Um, I'm following this truck, and we are partying, we are boogieing, and in the snow. That was exciting. Whee! All right. Um, so yeah, but yeah, so like cut consumption, push the lake, pipeline up and over. There's a lot of jobs and things that come out of that. But I think like having all that water come back in, and so like you just basically like, hey, we're gonna put X number of gallons, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of gallons per day into the lake, right? That doesn't mean like you're not pulling water off the Great Salt Lake. It's salt water, right? It is salty, salty salt water. Like you're just not putting a crazy amount of you're not going to be putting a crazy amount of like taking water out, like desalinization, all that. That's not what I'm saying. Put the water in, let it evaporate, let it go into the ecosystem the way it has been for quite some time. Um, ooh, that is a party place for that truck to stop. I don't know what you're doing. I would not stop right there. That is right on a bend with a slushy road. So people coming and there, you were going to get sideswiped. Maybe that's why they were sitting there. I wonder. So you don't have to stare at my face. Let's see. We carefully. Yeah, there we go. That. Woo. Now you can see kind of partially what I've been in. It's not snowing quite as heavy or raining quite as heavy, but this is these driving conditions in this canyon are really sketchy because it was just warm enough, and you can kind of see that it was slush. So it was just warm enough that it was like rain and then slush and then now snow on top. So you might have most concerning. Ice is super sketchy and dangerous and makes it almost impossible. Like once there's ice, you're done. But it makes it really difficult. Like you can see this truck out in front of me is having a hard time because the slush has a different consistency than the snow. So like every little move you make, you're calibrating for one thing that you're feeling, and then you're like it behaves differently. Or as the slush pulls away, it gives you a different feeling. So it might make you feel for a split second there's more grip than there is, and then suddenly, like you're sideways. It's like if I hit my brakes, yep, instant slide. So there is no quickly slowing down right now. Yeah, there might be some like the way that slides, like your wheels instantly lock up. If I pushed hard enough, the ABS might kick in, but I don't know that that would be all that helpful right now. You're better off to just like take your foot off and like slowly slow down. Thought I just saw a car trying to pass me on the left, like hauling. I was like, oh. Anyway, back to water. I think I would love to see the ski resorts always busy. I would love to see the lakes full because like the boating here in Utah is actually pretty phenomenal. There's all sorts of tiny little lakes that are fun to get into. There's the big lakes that are great to get into. Bear Lake is gorgeous. Um, Lake Powell is just a phenomenal vacation. Like a week on a houseboat, good friends, barbecue. Oh, phenomenal. Magical place to go. I wouldn't take my little kids. Like I would only take older kids. But yeah, it is a party. But this bone to pick now. The ski industry and the boating industry have priced out all the local. Like when I first moved to Utah, I understand like inflation, like lift ticket passes have been like some of the most hit by quote unquote inflation. It's like all these private equity groups came in and started buying up all the ski resorts and then raising the prices. And like even our local ski resort now, I think it's $70-$80 for a day pass to a local, like 3 lifts. You get 3 lifts and it's $80 a day. Like, and I understand that I'm complaining. Like when I started skiing, it was like, as a kid, it was like 15 to 20 bucks a day to go ride. And you could get a season pass um, as a kid, like for 150 bucks. And you could get like, and as a college student here, you could buy one for like, what do they start off at? Like 250, and then I think by the time I graduated, a long time later, I think they were like 350. And even if when you bought early in the season, you could get them for 350 bucks. Which, okay, 350 bucks for a year for a season pass, not bad. But now when you're getting like $700, $800, $900, $1,000 for one person for a season pass, like that becomes unusable. Well, sorry, not unusable, but like, how can you afford that? You're shooting yourself in the foot today for some profit that you're not going to have in the future. It's like, I think a lot of people in the NBA are starting to realize this, and the NFL and different sporting franchises, is that they all started to target these luxury clients, right? Oh, we need more boxes, we need more of this, we need more of that. I'm like, yeah, sure you do. Um, but the concerning thing that you get into is like you start. That was a slide on the way up. Oof. Um, Sorry, I'm trying to focus, and I made a poor decision. I watched a truck pass everybody, and it looked like he had pretty good traction. So I'm attempting the same thing, and I may deeply regret my decision. Watch him, watch him, watch him. I'm going to tuck in so I have more margin for error as I make this right-handed bend. Um, but yeah, so like I have a whole issue with pricing, and like, and I often say things like, "Oh, what do I know? I just work here, or I'm just an IT guy." But like, I've worked 20 plus years in retail. I've had my own store with some friends and things like that. So like, I've done a lot of different things, and like we we actually did some price arbitrage at like trade shows, not trade shows, but like FanX. So a lot of those companies that show up to like conventions and things, they price themselves. And I'm sharing this to show like my knowledge and my understanding of pricing. And we had disagreements within our partnership here and there on how to price certain things. But one of the big things we did is we just kind of kept the same prices between our holiday pop-up shop and when we would go to these special conventions. We actually kept the exact same pricing, right? Our cost of doing business is our cost of doing business. That's part of how we build our model and set our pricing to start, right? Oh, and one of the big things we sold like plushies and retro games. So, like, we buy all these plushies, we set our price, and we set a decent price, and it's like we want to go to a trade show and see if we can sell. Well, why should I mark up the price of my plushies to cover the cost of the trade show? That's, I mean, I understand that people do that. It's like raising your price at an airport, but you damage your brand and you damage your potential by doing that because, like, if you were to look at the exact same pricing as marketing, oh, I'm going to go to this place. Thousands of people I normally wouldn't interact with get to see my store and my product. Well, now instead of spending money on marketing, I went to this place. I sold a whole bunch of product, which I'm still potentially making money on or should be making money on. And now that I've made my, like, and now I just, yeah, maybe I have to sell more product. But going to a place like that meant we sold more product because people were like, oh man, like you're half the price of everybody else. And I was like, well, yeah, because we didn't raise the price to come to the show. But no, we didn't do like massive holiday deals and things like that. We weren't a big store like that, but like we were kind of a niche market type thing. Yo, buddy. Got a little overconfident, was going a little fast. Whew. I don't want to be over in this lane. So, yeah, so like this being my problem with like ski resorts. Ski resorts need to think in like terms of like 5, 10, 20 years. Like getting a new client in to ski, like why are we catering to like we're not all Park City. Park City's unique. It draws in the wealthiest of the world to this really unique opportunity that they can come and stay and ski, and it's a wild, cool experience, and like everything they could possibly desire is available. But like that's not most of our ski resorts, and like but we have lots of really good kids in the nearby areas that it's like you're not incentivizing those people to ever learn, and then I hate to say it, but no, I don't hate to say it. Rich people are fickle and they will turn on a dime and they will turn on a brand and they have the resources to do something different. So they, the people who show up for you show up for you. And I think a lot of sporting franchises, as I was saying, we're seeing this where you need to build a core base that like their identity. They love coming to the games. They can come to the games. Because if you've been to a game in a suite, it's not the same thing. Like most of the time it's a social thing, which is fine. And I'm not saying sporting events are social, but a lot of the people who sit in the boxes don't actually care about what's going on. They're there to show off to each other and hobnob and network and all that. The thing that's happening, the game, is secondary or tertiary to what their motives are. And so if you're a diehard sports fan, it's not necessarily the same enjoyable environment as like sitting in the stands, which yes, are probably less comfortable, but you're closer and you can see and you can, it's a way better experience if you're a fan of the thing. So like, raising your ticket prices to price alienates your local people who will show up all the time. I had the opportunity to work for the Grizzlies, which I'm pissed that they're leaving. I understand that, the owner, but like the Grizzlies filled an interesting gap in the market here in Utah, and they kept hockey alive in Utah. Like it was like Utah State's college hockey team and the Grizzlies were like really good hockey in Utah, which we're not necessarily well known for in lots of places. And you could take your family and go to a Grizzlies game and have a good time, and it didn't break the bank. But it's like, oh, I'm gonna go to this, and it's like, no, I can't afford like Aggie games. The pricing, the way they got last year, for me to take my family to a game, if I were to get snacks and parking and all that, was like $250 a game. It's like I got 3 kids and a wife, and like so I'm gonna have to buy a popcorn. I'm gonna have to like I can't swing that. That's a substantial amount of money. Like how can I justify $250 for one excursion for something I want to do all the time? Like, I'd love to go to every home game, but $250 every home game, I can't afford that. And the selfishness of just getting myself tickets, that's like I can't. Like, how do I justify that? Oh, it's gonna cost me $50 to $70 to go by myself. Anyway, so lift ticket prices, like they need to plan like, oh hey, if you have a valid Utah, like Disneyland does this for like California locals, and Utah ski resorts don't do this, and I don't know why the state stream, oh, well, we should probably incentivize a floor for what the ski resorts make so they don't screw us over and basically say, hey, if you have a valid Utah ID, let's have the state negotiate, hey, here's what you should charge Utah residents who own and live 75% of the time here in Utah. Is they should buy a ticket for this, right? And there should be like here would be a good use of crypto since we have so many people here in Utah. It's like a crypto exchange for season passes, like day tickets. It's like, oh, I have a ticket to Beaver Mountain, and you've got a ticket to, wherever, and like we could swap days. And then it'd be like, oh, cool. Now you can go ride at Beaver Mountain for a day, check it out, and it's not like they didn't make their money. And yeah, you're probably gonna buy like if you could just use your season pass for your home mountain and go to a different resort in Utah, you'd be like, oh yeah, look at this. I can go check out canyons, or I can go check out, you know, Snowbird or what have you, and I can, eat lunch because now I'm not breaking the bank beyond what I already spent. And boating prices don't. So when I first was buying in, like, to the boat partnerships, like the nicest wakeboard ski boat was like 80 grand. And that was like, ooh. And then a couple years later, a boat came out like 120. And then all of a sudden, everything got up towards 120. And a very similar boat to like the last one that I was in the partnership on. That boat was expensive when we bought it in the partnership. The size up of that was like 140 when we bought it. So the 23-foot version of the Centurion. That was like 2017, 2016, 2015. Anyway, and then just like 3 to 5 years later, the prices just went bonkers. So the 23-inch, the RI 230, is now like $400,000. So it quadrupled in price, and I think COVID did a lot of people. Listen, if you want to look at fraud, look at how many of those boats were PPE loans or things. Snacked out a PPE loan and then just bought a boat with it. But like the quadrupling of price, like they've priced everybody out. So now, like, I remember like growing up, like lots of people had boats. Like somebody had a ski boat and that, and you could get a boat for, and they're expensive. And if you maintain them, a lot of work to do on them. But like if you take care of it, like they last for a really long time. Like you have families handing down a well cared for boat, and like the motors have gotten exponentially better over the last 20 years. So they last way more hours than they used to. Yeah, you still have to put a new motor in it every once in a while, every 1,000 hours or so. It used to be way sooner than that. And so you're just in this place of like, you're not going to get regular people that are going to be your core audience doing the hobby anymore. You don't have like a regular kid who can it's water skiing, wakeboarding is becoming unattainable. So you're like, in 10 years, you're not gonna have a market. You're gonna have the 25 rich people who might have a boat, and maybe they get a new boat, maybe, but more than likely they just like, yeah, man, I'm gonna go do something else. So I hate the focus on short-term profit over long-term. Like, if I have a boat brand and I want to be around, I should want to be around for 10 years. I'm like, dude, I want this company to exist in 100 years. And maybe we have a couple different like sections of our company that make different types of boats, but like I should be like, yeah, they make really good quality boats that I can like hand down to my kids. And if I want to upgrade, like it's worth it to upgrade because I know that it's going to last a lifetime. But what do I know? I'm talking like I know things about water and snow and I my uncle's a farmer. You grew up in Idaho. My grandparents were farm. Like you were exposed to certain conversations your entire life. Like those things matter. How much snow like matters for all of these different things. Farming industry. Uh, how much of our economy is based around tourism, based in water and production from water. So like it matters. And I'm just seeing everything cater to the rich and ruin it for like regular people. I'm like, we should benefit regular people. Anyway, there's my long rant this morning about water and skiing and snowboarding and boating industries and their problems. And, do I have any solutions? Yes, I just don't have any money to execute those solutions. So, but anyway, have a great day. Thanks for the water. Check in with your friends. See ya.